Hi everyone, it's Liam here from Rating the Races. So we've had a look at the handicap marks for today. They've just come out, or they came out this morning at 7 o'clock, and I've gone through the hurdlers and the chasers. And the first video we'll look at is for the hurdlers. Starting off with Nurse Susan, who went up £4 to 129 for winning at Cheltenham in the final race of Cheltenham. Now, I actually think the more likely winner unseated in Bonte. However, Nurse Susan had some really good form previously. I did highlight her in the video saying, you know, I'm hoping that Bonte wins, but Nurse Susan will run a big race. Her second, for example, to Love Envoy, or Love Envoi, back at Lingfield was a really good run. And then even fourth in the Mayor's Novice Hurdle at Cheltenham Festival was a good run. She then returned after, what was it? It was a really long layoff. Let's have a look. 613 days off the track and ran a moderate race over fences. They dropped her back to hurdles, and she did prove that, you know, she is probably a better hurdler. She might have also needed to run over fences. They might have even kept her mark hidden by running her over fences, knowing that she wasn't as good over fences. I think this £4 rise isn't going to be enough to stop her in a similar race, and maybe even something a bit better. And I just wonder whether they might think about going to the Lanzarote Hurdle. They won it last year with a similar-ish horse in West Balboa. If we think that West Balboa had had 3 runs over hurdles, Nurse Susan has had 5 runs over hurdles. However, it's split up by quite a few years, you know, over 2 years, because she's had that injury. West Balboa was rated 130, crept in relatively near the bottom of the handicap. Nurse Susan rated 129. It's a mare as well. I mean, there's so many similarities here between Nurse Susan and West Balboa, and the fact that she's won over 2.5 at Cheltenham, she would easily get 2.5 at Kempton. Kempton 2.5 doesn't often work out 2.5. I think it works out like 2.2, 2.3 maybe at a push. So she would definitely have both the speed and the stamina for the Lanzarote Hurdle. And I think if she turns up there, she would go very, very close in a Lanzarote Hurdle. Wherever she goes next, off a £4 higher mark, you definitely want to keep an eye on her. I think she'll end up nearer the 140 mark come the end of the season. So yeah, the Lanzarote Hurdle, which is on the 13th of January, gives her enough time to get over that run, and I think she would go close. Moving on to the next horse, which is Bold Endeavour, who went up £2 to 144. You can see his form since finishing second at Ascot over fences. Well, including that run, he's finished second 4 times out of 7. Is that out of 7? Yeah, 4 times out of 7. A third also in a good handicap at Newbury. A fifth in a... What's that, the Swinton at Haydock? No, it's not the Swinton, is it? The 3 mile handicap, Stayers handicap hurdle. You know, been running really well. Just keeps finding one too good. And I just wonder whether it's worth going back over fences now. I thought that after he finished 5th at Haydock, kind of suggesting to me that maybe there wasn't any more in his handicap mark. Again, he's been beaten. Yeah, go over fences and go to that race at Kempton, the 3 mile handicap. So the horse stays 3 mile, but also has the speed for 2.5. You can see his last 2 wins actually came over 2.5 at Leicester and Doncaster. And being a 3 mile race at Kempton, it won't feel like a full 3 mile. And I think that would be where I would be going with Bold Endeavour. Go back over fences now. I mean, he went off 5 to 6 for a grade 2. They really liked him when he went over fences. And interestingly, they were very quick to go over fences. After November to April over hurdles, they then went over fences, probably thinking they had a chaser. And yeah, I still think they do. He finished second at Oscar Elite. Oscar Elite wasn't a bad horse anyway. Yeah, I think that's where we'll see, or that's where I hope we'll see Bold Endeavour in the near future. That's not until towards the end of February, so just keep him ticking over now till then. You know, he's had enough runs relatively recently. I mean, 3 runs, November, December. Give him time off now. Get over that run. Come back in February. Go back over fences. Run really well, win at Kempton, and then look what you could do potentially at Cheltenham or Aintree or Ayr or somewhere like that with Bold Endeavour. The next horse I want to talk about is Langadan, who dropped £2 to 143. Oh, what a surprise. Having won at Cheltenham over 2.5, they then went to Kempton over 2.5, and he ran moderately, as you'd expect. First time up for Langadan, a horse that clearly is aimed at the handicaps at Cheltenham. He's then been dropped back in trip to 2 Mile for Sandown and Doncaster, and he's found both of them happening way too fast, but that's not a surprise. But with that in mind, he's dropped £2 again to 143. He's now just £2 higher than when winning at the Cheltenham Festival. Can they find him another run to get him to the Cheltenham Festival? Absolutely. There's this run, as I said before, at Sandown on the 6th of January, so about 2 and a bit weeks. He disappoints, he drops £2, he turns back up at Cheltenham off 141, and he takes all the beating in the Coral Cup. Langadan's not being aimed until at least the new year. If not, February, March, April is when you want to be backing Langadan, in my opinion. We'll move on to Too Friendly. This is the final hurdler. Too Friendly dropped £2 for finishing 6th in a race at Doncaster, which was nigh on a bumper. There were so many hurdles omitted. It turned into a bit of a... Well, those horses at the front just stayed there. Those that were out the back just stayed there. And Too Friendly was in the middle, and that's where he stayed. Dropped £2 to 136, and he's dropped... His last 2 runs now, he's dropped £4 to 136 from 140. After finishing second to Rabaul. Now, Rabaul is a really good handicap. I'm probably going to end up in the Betfair Hurdle again, off about 150, and probably run a nice race. I think he's finding these top handicaps at Cheltenham and Doncaster just a little bit too tough. I'd love to see him in the Scottish County Hurdle. So he would get in there off 136, and you often find the Scottish County Hurdle is horses that run there are northern based, because it's at Musselburgh, which is understandable. And they just might not be quite as good as those that you end up seeing at the Cheltenham Festival in the Coral Cup or the County Hurdle itself at the Cheltenham Festival, rather than the Scottish County Hurdle. It's still worth a decent bit of prize money, and I think that's where Too Friendly should run. He's only 5, so they've still got plenty of time to get him to improve. I think if they want to win a race, they go to Musselburgh on the 3rd of February. And that is it for the hurdlers. So, a quick recap of those. Nurse Susan went up £4. Don't give up. Wherever she goes next, she'll be interesting. I'd like to see her in the Lanzarote Hurdle. Bold Endeavour went up £2 to 144. He keeps running well. I think now is the time to go back over fences, particularly with that 3 mile handicap in mind at Kempton. Langadan dropped £2 to 143. He's now just £2 higher than when winning at the Cheltenham Festival. Surely they'll give him one more run, get him dropped a couple of pounds, and then see what they do with him after that. Could they try and win a Imperial Cup and then go for the race at Cheltenham? And finally, Too Friendly dropped £2 to 136. I think he finds those top class handicaps just a bit beyond him, but the Scottish County Hurdle would be certainly within his reach.